Aquarius, the energy surrounding you from August 17th through August 23rd, 2026 feels like a week when something inside you finally begins to loosen. You may have spent a long time trying to understand where your life is heading, why certain things haven't happened yet, or why some people and situations continue to feel complicated. But this week brings a different kind of energy. Not everything needs to be solved. Some things simply need to be released. And once you stop fighting what has already changed, you may finally see what is trying to enter your life. Aquarius, you've probably noticed that you are not the same person you were at the beginning of this year. Your priorities have changed. Your patience has changed. Even the kind of people you want around you may have changed. You may no longer be impressed by appearances. You may no longer want relationships based only on excitement. You may no longer want a career that gives you money but takes away your peace. You may no longer want to explain yourself to people who have already decided how they want to see you. And this week, that realization becomes stronger. Around August 17th and 18th, you may feel a little more withdrawn than usual. You may want to spend time alone, not because you're unhappy, but because you need to hear your own thoughts. There has been too much noise around you, too many opinions, too many expectations, too many people telling you what you should do. And somewhere in all of that noise, your own voice may have become difficult to hear. This week gives you the opportunity to find it again. You may suddenly understand why a particular situation has been bothering you. Maybe you've been saying yes when you wanted to say no. Maybe you've been pretending to be okay when you're actually disappointed. Maybe you've been waiting for someone to change. Or maybe you've been trying to convince yourself that something is enough when your heart knows you want more. Don't be afraid of that realization. Truth may feel uncomfortable at first, but confusion is exhausting. Clarity gives you power. If you're in a relationship, communication becomes one of the biggest themes of the week. You may have been keeping something inside because you don't want to create tension. Perhaps you need more emotional support. Perhaps you feel that your partner has been distant. Perhaps you want more freedom. Or perhaps you've been wondering whether the two of you are still moving toward the same future. This week encourages a real conversation. Not an argument. Not an accusation. Conversation. You may discover that your partner has been carrying their own worries. Maybe they haven't known how to express them. Maybe they were afraid of disappointing you. Maybe they thought you needed space. And sometimes two people can love each other deeply while still misunderstanding each other. That is why honesty matters. Tell them what you need, and then allow them to tell you what they need. A healthy relationship isn't built by two people pretending everything is perfect. It's built by two people who feel safe enough to say when something isn't. For some Aquarius natives, however, the conversation may bring a more serious realization. You may finally understand that you have been staying somewhere emotionally because it is familiar, not because it is fulfilling. And that distinction matters. Familiarity can feel like security, but sometimes familiarity is simply fear of change. If you realize that you've been giving more than you receive, don't immediately blame yourself. You were trying to make something work. But a relationship cannot be carried by one person forever. Love requires participation from both sides. If someone truly wants to build a future with you, they will show it through their actions, not just their promises. For single Aquarius, the romantic energy becomes surprisingly interesting this week. Someone may appear in a place you weren't expecting. Could be through work, a mutual friend, an online conversation, a social gathering, travel, or even something connected to learning or personal development. The person may not immediately seem like someone you would normally choose, and that could be exactly why you notice them. There may be an unusual mental connection. You may find yourself talking about ideas rather than superficial things. You may laugh together, challenge each other's opinions, share stories, and slowly, curiosity may become attraction. Don't rush. Aquarius, you don't need to know where a connection is going after one conversation. Let it breathe. Let the person reveal themselves. The tarot suggests that the strongest connection this week may begin with friendship, conversation, or simple curiosity. And if someone from your past suddenly returns, take a moment before responding. You may feel a familiar emotional pull, but ask yourself, has the situation actually changed, or am I simply remembering the good parts? That question could save you from repeating a cycle. A return can be meaningful, but it doesn't automatically mean the relationship belongs in your future. Sometimes people return because they need closure. Sometimes they return because they miss you. And sometimes they return because they finally recognize your value. But what matters is not why they return. What matters is whether what they offer now is healthy for you. Career energy becomes stronger around August 19th and 20th. Something may begin moving after a period of delay. An email, a response, a meeting, an invitation, project, a new client, a change in responsibilities, or an opportunity that allows you to work in a completely different way. Aquarius, you may have been feeling that your professional life needs a new direction. You may have skills that aren't being used, ideas that aren't being heard, potential that isn't being recognized. This week encourages you to stop waiting for someone else to discover your abilities. Show them. If you have an idea, speak about it. If you want a new position, apply. If you want to start something independently, begin planning. If you want to learn a new skill, start now. You don't need to have everything ready. You simply need to begin. One of the most important messages around your career this week is that your unconventional ideas may actually become your advantage. You may think differently from the people around you. You may approach problems in unusual ways. You may see possibilities that others don't see. Don't hide that because you are afraid of being different. Your difference may be exactly what makes you valuable. Someone may notice your creativity. Someone may ask for your opinion. Someone may invite you into a project because they need someone who thinks differently. Take that seriously. You don't need to become like everyone else to succeed. Financially, the week asks you to create more freedom. You may be thinking about how to earn more, save more, or stop depending on one source of income. The tarot shows potential for a new financial idea, perhaps a side project, freelance work, digital work, a creative skill, an investment in education, or a business idea that you've been considering quietly. Don't dismiss something simply because it starts small. Aquarius, some of the strongest financial changes begin with one small experiment. You don't need to quit everything tomorrow. You can test an idea, learn, improve, adjust, and gradually build something stronger. There may also be an unexpected expense during the week, so avoid spending money simply because you're feeling emotionally restless. You may want something new, a new device, clothes, travel, entertainment, something that gives you an immediate feeling of excitement. There's nothing wrong with enjoying yourself. But before spending, ask whether you're buying something you truly need or simply trying to change your mood. Your future self will appreciate that pause. Around August 20th, an emotional truth may surface. You may realize that you have been trying to fit yourself into a situation that was never designed for you. Maybe your family expects one thing. Your workplace expects another. Your partner expects another. And you've been trying to satisfy everyone. But Aquarius, you were never meant to live according to someone else's blueprint. Your life doesn't have to look traditional. Your success doesn't have to look like everyone else's. Your relationship doesn't have to follow someone else's timeline. You can choose differently. And this week, you may finally stop feeling guilty about that. There is a powerful message around individuality. You may have spent time worrying that people don't understand you, but perhaps they don't need to. Some people will never understand choices they would never have the courage to make themselves. That doesn't mean your choices are wrong. It means they are yours. As August 21st approaches, you may become much more selective with your social circle. You may notice who genuinely celebrates your happiness, who listens when you speak, who remembers what matters to you, who supports your goals, and who only appears when they need something. This awareness could lead you to distance yourself from certain people. Don't feel guilty. Not every friendship needs a dramatic ending. Sometimes you simply stop investing as much. You stop explaining. You stop chasing. You stop trying to keep a connection alive by yourself. And eventually, the relationship finds its natural place. There may also be a friendship this week that becomes unexpectedly important. Someone could give you advice that changes your perspective. They may tell you something you've been avoiding. And although you may not immediately want to hear it, later you may realize they were right. Keep good people close. A true friend doesn't always tell you what you want to hear. Sometimes they tell you what you need to hear. As the weekend approaches, the tarot shows movement. You may receive an invitation, a chance to travel, a social opportunity, a meeting, an event, or simply a reason to leave your normal routine. Go if you can. You need fresh energy. You need different conversations. You need to see something beyond the same environment. A change of scenery may create a change in perspective. And you may meet someone or hear something that becomes important later. This is one of those weeks where an ordinary event can have an extraordinary consequence. You may attend something simply because a friend asked. You may have a conversation you almost canceled. You may take a different route. You may decide to answer a message. And that small decision could lead somewhere unexpected. Don't underestimate coincidence. By August 22nd and 23rd, your emotional energy begins to feel lighter. You may wake up and realize that something that bothered you earlier in the week no longer feels as heavy. Perhaps you finally made a decision. Perhaps someone gave you an answer. Perhaps you stopped waiting. Or perhaps you simply accepted that you cannot control everything. That acceptance can be incredibly peaceful. Aquarius, you have a powerful mind. You think deeply. You analyze. You question. You imagine possibilities. You can spend hours thinking about what might happen. But sometimes your mind creates 10 different futures before anything has actually happened. This week asks you to return to the present. What is happening today? What do you know today? What can you control today? What can you do today? You don't need to solve next year. You only need to take care of today. And when tomorrow comes, you can handle tomorrow. There is also a spiritual message around your dreams and intuition. You may have unusually vivid dreams. A person may appear in a dream. A situation may repeat. You may wake up with a strange feeling that stays with you. Don't immediately dismiss it. Your subconscious may be processing something you've been avoiding consciously. Write your thoughts down. Pay attention to patterns. Notice what keeps returning to your mind. Sometimes your intuition speaks quietly, not through dramatic signs, through a feeling, a sense of knowing, a small voice that says, "This isn't right," or "Give this a chance." Learn to recognize that voice. Not every fear is intuition. Sometimes fear simply comes from uncertainty. But when the same feeling returns calmly and consistently, don't ignore it. By the end of the week, you may understand that the biggest transformation happening around you is not external. It is internal. You are becoming more comfortable with yourself. You are becoming less interested in approval, less interested in explaining every decision, less interested in relationships that require you to pretend. You are becoming more honest, more selective, more independent, and perhaps more peaceful. That is growth. You don't have to become a completely different person. You simply have to become more comfortable being the person you've always been. The tarot also brings an important message about your future. You may have been waiting for a sign that you are on the right path. This week, you may not receive one dramatic sign. Instead, you may receive several small confirmations. A conversation, an opportunity, a feeling, coincidence, a door opening, a door closing, and slowly the direction becomes clearer. Don't force everything. If a door keeps closing, stop hitting it. If another door keeps opening, at least look inside. Sometimes the universe doesn't remove an opportunity because you aren't good enough. Sometimes it removes it because something else fits you better. You may understand that this week. And that understanding could bring peace about something you've been struggling to accept. Aquarius, you have spent enough time wondering why certain things didn't happen. Now ask a different question. What is possible because they didn't? What became possible after that relationship ended? What became possible after that job changed? What became possible after that person walked away? What became possible after that plan failed? Sometimes the greatest opportunities are hidden inside disappointments. You simply can't see them while you're still grieving what you lost. But now you may be ready. As August 23rd comes to an end, you may feel a quiet excitement about the future. Not because everything is solved. It isn't. But because you finally believe you can handle whatever comes. That confidence is different from certainty. Certainty says, I know what will happen. Confidence says, whatever happens, I'll find my way. And that is the energy you are moving toward. So Aquarius, don't be afraid of the unexpected this week. The unexpected may be exactly what you need. Don't be afraid of changing your plans. Don't be afraid of outgrowing people. Don't be afraid of taking a different path. Don't be afraid of being misunderstood. Don't be afraid to start something that nobody else understands yet. Your life doesn't need to make sense to everyone. It needs to make sense to you. And if your heart has been telling you that something needs to change, listen. Maybe you need a new environment. Maybe a new relationship. Maybe a new career direction. Maybe simply a new way of thinking. Whatever it is, don't ignore it. Because August 17th through August 23rd may become a turning point. Not necessarily because one huge event changes everything, but because you make one decision that changes the direction of everything that comes after. You decide to stop waiting. You decide to stop chasing. You decide to stop explaining. You decide to start living. And once that happens, life begins responding. Aquarius, there is more ahead of you than you can currently see. The road may not be perfectly clear, but it is opening. And you don't need to know exactly where it ends. You only need the courage to take the next step. Because sometimes the future doesn't appear all at once. Sometimes it appears one unexpected opportunity at a time. One conversation. One meeting. One decision. One brave yes. And this week may be the moment when you finally say it. I'm ready to see what happens next.